Hello, everyone. My name is Netta Anasari, and I'm the host for you today. I am the Technology Projects Coordinator for the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network, OTAN, and I would like to welcome you all and thank you for joining us today for this month's Tech Talk. Our guest speaker is Francisco Crocco. He is the Director of the Excelsior Online Writing Lab. The Excelsior Online Writing Lab is an open educational resource that supports college-level reading and writing. Today, Dr. Crocco will review the Online Writing Lab, the Online Reading Comprehension Lab, and Educator Resources. Let's get started. Take it away, Dr. Crocco.
Thank you, Netta, and thank you for the opportunity to present to your audience today. I'm excited to present the Excelsior Online Writing Lab to OTAN. So I'm going to get started, and we'll do some questions at the end here. As Netta said, I am the director of the Online Writing Lab at Excelsior College. And the Excelsior Online Writing Lab, I think the first thing you need to know is that it's really 3 sites in one. We have an online writing lab, we also have an online reading comprehension lab, and we have a section for educators, which we call Educator Resources. All of these resources are open education resources. That means that they are free to use. We have people coming to us specifically because our content is OER. It carries a Creative Commons license. We have a CC BY license, which means everything you see here is free to reuse, remix, recycle in any way, share. It can even be sold as part of our license. The license supports that. And the only thing we ask is that you attribute us when you use our content. All of the content here is targeted at college-level writing and reading, and what we find is that it really especially helps those students who are transitioning from high school to college, what used to be called developmental education, basic writing, basic reading. But there are also advanced materials on the OWL that can help students at later grades as well, particularly our content on, citation and documentation, doing research, even avoiding plagiarism. And of course, a lot of these skills are transferable to different students at different places in their education and in different disciplines. The content is different from other writing labs in that, and I'm sure a lot of people here are familiar with, let's say, for instance, the Purdue Writing Lab. Our content puts an emphasis on interactivity, on multimedia. We have videos, we have slideshows, we have PDFs, quizzes, a variety of different types of interactive activities. We use a free open source tool called H5P to develop our content. Our website is built on WordPress. Again, sort of supporting that kind of open source ethos. And so, all that multimedia contributes to our OWL being significantly different than other OWLs that are out there, and makes it, we find, a lot easier for students to get on board, to engage with the content and to learn from that content. We promote the OWL as a free textbook alternative, and later in the presentation I'll talk about how you can use some of our advanced tools to create your own custom versions of the OWL, what we call owlets. The content is responsive, it's mobile ready. You can view it on your tablets, you can view it on your smartphone, and it should, it should sort of lay itself out differently to fit those screen sizes. Finally, the content does meet accessibility standards, and we are constantly working to, keep up with all of the accessibility requirements out there for learning content. So I'm now going to show a brief video that will introduce you to a little bit about the OWL.
The Excelsior College Online Writing Lab revolutionizes online support for writing and reading. The OWL is an award-winning open education resource, mobile-ready and ADA compliant. It is available to anyone, anywhere, on almost any device for free. Users find writing and reading support with videos, interactive activities, and quizzes covering 13 content areas. The OWL even features a video game, Paper Capers, available online and for tablets. Students simulate the writing process by playing an editor managing a team of writers. With its comprehensive content, the OWL is a free alternative to writing handbooks. The Excelsior OWL has replaced my writing textbook. Students love the interactive exercises and relate to the memes. The OWL was developed and evaluated in partnership with colleges across the United States. A 2013 multi-campus study revealed students using the OWL scored nearly 7 points higher on their final course average and improved in 3 out of 5 categories on the AAC&U Written Communication Value Rubric. The OWL features the world's first free online comprehensive resource for college-level reading. The Online Reading Comprehension Lab uses multimedia technology to cover a range of topics, including questioning, annotating, vocabulary strategies, paraphrasing, and analyzing. A robust library of educator resources includes tips for using the OWL in different classroom environments and disciplines, as well as sample assignments. I've been using the OWL and the ORC in all of my courses, and the feedback I've received, especially in regard to the Grammar Essentials section of the OWL, has been overwhelmingly positive. Students love the multimodality. For educators, finding, sharing, and even customizing content is easy. Users can link to content or embed media directly on their page, or create a custom OWL using simple drag and drop tools. In my end of semester reflection, almost every student mentions that the OWL is something they will use in all of their classes. The OWL is also a professional development resource. With the OWL blog, Hoot, educators can view articles on the latest developments and best practices in writing and reading instruction. Follow the OWL on Facebook to receive the latest updates, announcements, blog posts, and top articles in the field. Email owl@excelsior.edu to learn more about the Excelsior OWL or to inquire about a free consultation, training webinar, or information on premium options. owl.excelsior.edu.
Okay, so I'm going to dig into some of the topics that were covered in that video. And at the end of the presentation, I can show you where you can find that video and share it too with some of your colleagues. So the OWL was mostly developed with grant funding. We've actually been very fortunate in pulling in close to $3 million in grant funding since 2010. And that funding went towards building, at first we built an ESL WOW, which is our section for ESL writers. And after that, we built the OWL proper and included ESL WOW there as part of the OWL. We did a couple of pilot studies, which were mentioned in the video. And all of this content was built with other colleges. We prefer to collaborate with other colleges. It brings expertise into the mix. And then once the content is developed, we go out and we do pilot studies at multiple campuses and test the effectiveness of the content. We designed the reading lab that way as well. We built a reading lab a few years ago, and that was the latest edition. And we're constantly adding new content to all of the labs. This work is now being guided by a national advisory board. That board consists of faculty, instructional designers, writing center directors from all across the country. We have over 24 people on that advisory board. And if that's something that interests you, we can talk about that a little later on. So the content was also built with standards in mind. We built the OWL with the AAC&U Written Communication Value Rubric standard. That value rubric was used in the 2 pilot studies we did to evaluate the OWL. For the reading lab, the AAC&U did not have a their reading value rubric out yet. It is out now. And so we relied on the Common Core College and Career Readiness Anchor Standards for writing and reading. Over the years, the OWL has won a number of awards. We've won awards from some of the major players in online learning, USDLA, Instructional Technology Council, OLC, the Newton Network. We've got about 10 awards in the last 9 years, and we're proud to share that, and we're hoping to add to that. And I think that the real impetus behind that is the multimodal, multimedia emphasis of the OWL, which really makes it an unusual and really engaging resource for students. So I mentioned that we had done 2 pilot studies. In 2013, we did a multi-campus study across the United States, including California. In that study, we evaluated students in composition courses using the OWL compared them to a control group, and found that the students scored 7 points higher on their final course average if they used the OWL. And they also improved in 3 of 5 categories on the AAC&U Written Communication Value rubric. In 2015, we added a brand new section to the OWL. That section focuses on argument and critical thinking, and we did another pilot study focused just on that section in New York State, and we found that the campuses that participated in that study found that the students performed better, significantly better in their argumentative essays. So who's using the OWL? If you Google Online Writing Lab, you will see that we come up as number 2 under Purdue. Now, admittedly, not many people actually Google the phrase Online Writing Lab. Usually people are looking for specific resources and will Google those search terms. And the types of things that come up most often for us, when we check our data to see which pages are being used, students are making good use of our sections on rhetorical style, which includes sample essays on the different, the most common writing modes, things like cause and effect, comparison, contrast essays, and so on. They also make a lot of use of our argument and critical thinking section and our writing process section, which is kind of a nuts and bolts sort of A to Z review of the writing process. Our courses at Excelsior integrate the OWL. We're also used by dozens of colleges across the nation. I find out every week about new colleges using us. Most recently, I learned that University of Maryland, University College has been using us as their textbook for their academic writing courses, which are all online. But we find out things like that every day. We have a survey on the site, which if you stay on the site for 2.5 minutes or more, you will definitely see the survey. And on that survey, we ask people, to give us feedback. And we get things like, librarians telling us that they are adding us to their website and stuff like that. So we get a lot of endorsements. We are endorsed by websites in California, Cool for Ed, Skills Commons. We're featured on both of those sites now. And we've had a number of conversations with the community colleges there as well as the CSU system. And there are also, I should mention, there are sites that clone our content and provide it as OER content. Guru, PanOpen, the eGranary. So we're definitely widely available. So in the last 2 years, what we've been doing is focusing on outreach, doing things like this, webinars, spreading the word about the OWL. We had built this wonderful product and had not had an opportunity to really spread the word about it. And things have changed dramatically in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, we're up 442% in terms of our monthly users. So that's a massive jump. In October of 2018, we had 86,000 users. In 2018, we had over 500,000 users total and 2 million page views. And that was a 100% increase from the previous year. We're seeing similar gains this year, and we're very excited to see that the OWL is making it into more and more hands every day. We've run a number of surveys as well. On the left here, you'll see survey data that was pulled from a survey done at Excelsior College. This was with our students, and they are fairly happy with it. We also run a satisfaction survey, as I mentioned, a pop-up survey on the website itself, and the satisfaction levels are usually very high. The demographics for our users tend to include about an equal split of Excelsior students, 4-year college students, not at Excelsior, 2-year college students, high schools, that's a growing section of our demographics, and educators. We have a large number of educators using it. So, for instance, in March, we had about 81,000 users, and about, I'd say 20% of those were 4-year colleges, another 20% 2-year colleges, close to 20% were high schools, and again, close to 20% were educators. So we're getting a broad swath of users here. So now I want to take you into the resources. I've kind of teased you with all of the kind of outreach we've done and talking about a little bit of the history and so on. Let's take a look at some of these resources. So we'll start with the Online Writing Lab. The Writing Lab consists of 11 units. We've got the writing process, as I mentioned, that covers sort of a nuts and bolts approach, A to Z approach to how to put together an academic essay. We have a section on how to do research, a section on citation and documentation, So we cover things like APA, MLA, a section on rhetorical styles, argument and critical thinking. We even cover online writing and presentations where we have videos and activities and examples for how to do a PowerPoint or a Prezi, as well as how to do discussion board posts for those of you teaching online. We have a huge section on grammar called Grammar Essentials. It covers lots of different parts of speech, punctuation. We have our 20 most common grammar errors in there as well. We have activities in there to practice grammar. We have a unit on avoiding plagiarism, which is really set up as kind of a pre and post test. The student can actually go in and take a test. We have the ESL writing workshop, which I mentioned earlier. So that is targeting ESL writers. We have a section on writing in the disciplines with content focused on specific genres that are specific to a discipline. For instance, we have in there right now genres focused on the health sciences, such as a care plan for nursing or community health literature. And we have a plan to be adding more. Under Writing Refresher, you'll find some modules that help students to practice grammar skills and citation skills. And then we have our video game, Paper Capers. So I just want to take you into some of this content so that you can see what it looks like. So here, this is some content under where is it here? This is actually, so this is called the meal plan. This actually walks students through how to put together a paragraph. And I use this a lot with my students. So the meal plan is an acronym. So they start with a main idea as their first sentence, and then they move into their evidence. And after that, they add some analysis of that evidence, and finally they end the paragraph with a lead out. So it's just a neat little, sort of interactive that teaches them how to put together, a paragraph. So here is our avoiding plagiarism test. So they can actually work their way through this and sort of learn and answer questions as they go. And at the end, it gives them kind of a summary report, and they can actually print that out, or we have instructions down here for how to save to PDF and then submit their score. So if this were assigned as a grade, it could be used that way. And then after they've taken that pretest, they go through and they can learn all about the different types of plagiarism, watching videos and so on. And then they have a post-test at the end. So it's a fairly comprehensive section on how to avoid plagiarism. Here I have a section on comparison and contrast essays. That's a very commonly assigned essay. And so they can watch a video explaining, how to do a comparison contrast essay. And then they can also, what we call see it in practice. And here they can actually take a look at an annotated paper, right, a sample essay that explains to them how a comparison contrast essay works. And this is very popular. They can click on, these word bubbles here and see, annotations related to this paper explaining the structure of the structure of a comparison contrast essay. And there's a sample essay for each one of these essay types under rhetorical styles. Now under, I'll get to that in a second actually. So next I'm going to go to the Online Reading Lab. So in the Reading Lab, this was built most recently, and this has 10 units. We talk about the difference between active versus passive reading. We talk about previewing text, the importance of questioning as you read, annotation skills, inferencing. What is inferencing? Why is it important? How do you do it? Vocabulary strategies. We have 5 or 6 different vocabulary strategies, each with a video. And then we have, we talk about paraphrasing, summarizing as ways to, engage and understand content better, analyzing what you read, and synthesizing. So we have 10 sections. Within those sections, we have 27 different modules. Each module has a video, handouts, transcripts, and 1 or more activities. And I'll show you one of these modules. Here's the annotating module. We have about 6 modules under annotating. So this is the first one, creating an annotation system. It's got some built-in links as you watch this video. This is actually a video. And then below there, you've got a transcript, timestamped, and some handouts. This video can actually be embedded right into your course. If you're teaching online, you just copy and paste this code, just like a YouTube video. You can embed this content right onto your page. And that goes for almost all of our content, has that embed ability. So you can literally build a course out of our content. And that actually takes us to Educator Resources. So we have a variety of different educator resources. We have a whole section with tips on how to use the OWL in different classroom styles and modes. For instance, we have tips on how to use it in an online course, a hybrid course, a flipped classroom, of course, a traditional classroom. We give you tips on effective feedback for papers, effective feedback for discussion boards. We also have some information on how to use the OWL across the disciplines and some sample course activities. So, we give you some ideas for how to use the OWL, say, to help students with their grammar or with citation or with avoiding plagiarism, whatever the case may be. We also include instructions for embedding the OWL and instructions on how to customize the OWL. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. Also up there is the value rubric, and we show you how our content is aligned to the value rubric. And we have a variety of different search indexes and PDF, and also a PDF content guide that you can download, and has our content organized alphabetically with links to resources. And that's to help you find the content more easily and use it. I use it especially for providing feedback for students. So I'm going to take you into our Create an Outlet tool right now. So so to use this advanced feature, all you would do is log in. There would be an option up here to log in. I'm already logged in here. And if you don't have an account, you would just register. You basically provide an email address, and you've registered for the OWL and created an account, and then save your password. And then whenever you want to create an outlet, you would log in and enter your password, and now you can create an outlet. The outlet is a really nifty tool. It basically, what you do is you're basically making a website, right? You're making your own OWL. So you can download a PDF with instructions for how to do that, but I'll just walk you through it here. So let's say you're teaching a course, I don't know, adult education, literacy, and you want a subtitle. I'll put my name. And then what you do is you simply drag and drop our content. So let's say you want to teach them how to write an academic essay. Boom, we're going to put that in there. They're going to do it in MLA style, so I'll drag that over here, sort it however I want. I want some avoiding plagiarism, and then maybe some grammar refreshers here. So I'm going to add that there. And also, I want them to take advantage of some of the reading skills that we have in here. Oh, there's a little snafu. I'm going to have to reload this page. Oh, sorry about that. So why is that not showing? I am so sorry about that. Well, I'll take note of that, and we'll definitely look into that. But so what happens anyway is that you would basically create the content you want here, and then you would hit save and create an outlet. So now you have your own personalized version of the OWL. Here's all the content that I loaded in. And this is the URL. So you basically make note of that URL and share that with your students. So instead of sending them to the OWL proper, you can send them straight to your own outlet. And I'm going to load that in here so you can see that. And you can make as many of these as you want. So if you're teaching 5 different courses, you can have a different OWL for each of the courses. And I hope you can see how this can be kind of a textbook replacement, right? So you can sort of create your own customized textbook using our reading and writing content. Okay, so while we're on the topic of Educator Resources, we do have a number of ways to search the OWL and find our content. So we have an alphabetical list of OWL content. We also have an index of our activities. And there are lots of activities in the OWL. So you can see an index and the description of the type of activity offered, and you can actually click on the page and it'll take you to that page there. As I mentioned, we have a PDF guide. That's something that is really helpful. Our faculty will have the PDF guide up as they're grading, and that way they'll be able to simply just copy paste links right into their feedback. So, let's say you're telling a student, well, you need some help here with developing a thesis statement. Here are all the links to the different thesis-oriented pages in the OWL, and maybe you want to share one of these links in your feedback. We talked about embedding content, so pretty much every bit of media in the OWL will have a little embed code in the bottom left. So click on embed, and then you'll be able to get that code, copy paste it. It works in almost every LMS. It should work on WordPress. It should work on lots of different websites. And it's like embedding a YouTube video in your course, only it's OWL content. We've talked about creating a custom outlet. One of the other things you can do if you log in, if you create an account and log in, and then you take any of the activities in the OWL will actually record the score, and you can go back and look at all the activities you've ever taken and see your score. This is also another way for a student to report that they've taken activities. They can simply take a screenshot of that page and show you a summary. And I want to go ahead and show you an example of an activity here. So under annotating here, I mentioned that we've got the handouts, transcripts, and we also have different activities for annotating. And the activities come in different styles and types. We have simple multiple choice. We have drag and drop activities. We have, find the hotspot activity. We have a fill in the blank activities. We've got timeline activities, summary activities. There are about close to 30 different types of activities that we can draw from using this H5P tool that is a free open source tool that we use to create all of our activities. So here's the annotation activity, and they can actually check their score and then move on, and they can retest if they want to. If they get it wrong, they can show the solution, or they can retry. So there's just a number of different things they can do here. So that one was all multiple choice. Let's see if we can find a different one. So under previewing, we have some find the hotspot activities. In this activity, they learned about searching for headings and using headings to navigate a text as a kind of a previewing skill. And so here, we're asking them to click on all the headings that they find, and and that way they can learn how to practice that skill. And these are actually pages from an open source textbook. So textbooks are often the kinds of things that students are reading, and this teaches them how to walk through a textbook and how textbooks are organized. There are lots of other types of activities in there that I could show you. I'm going to leave it at that for now. So as long as they're logged in, the system will actually track their activity results. So what kind of courses make good nests for the OWL? I would say any kind of developmental reading and writing courses, co-requisite courses, accelerated learning courses, stretch courses, first-year comp courses, integrated reading and writing courses, writing intensive courses, courses that apply writing, either writing to learn or writing in the disciplines. Basically anything literacy-oriented, writing-oriented, I think, would be a good place for the OWL. And I think it works really well with students, in the upper years of high school and into college. It's a really good resource for students in those areas who are trying to improve their essay writing skills and their reading comprehension skills. We do have a blog for the OWL called Hoot. It's a dedicated blog. We have about a couple of posts come out every week. And these posts are actually very practical posts focused on resources in the OWL. Each post focuses on a specific resource, describes what it is, gives some examples of how to use that resource, some tips and some best practices. And we try to make a lot of use out of these blogs. I'm going to show you. Let's see, where was that? link. There it is. So we've got a number of blogs here. So what we do is, so for instance, here's one on how to make a concept map, which is one of the skills covered under the Reading Comprehension Lab. And, we will link out from here to the OWL and vice versa, so that if you go to the OWL, you'll see a link to this blog. Hey, you want to learn more about how to make a concept map, click on this. And finally, we do have a Facebook page as well, so I encourage you to like us on Facebook. We have a growing community there, and we do post announcements about the OWL there. We repost our blogs there, and we just put up keep updates up there to let our community know what's going on with the OWL. We make it a priority to stay in touch with our community and to share what is going on. So that takes us to the end of this presentation. I want to thank you all for joining us, and I hope you've learned a bit about the OWL and are at least curious to learn more and hopefully try it with your courses and students. Thank you.